Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, I talked about the Marvel comic books a little bit in my last video. Now it's time to talk about some of those stories. The first one we're going to talk about was issue number 81. Now this was written by Mary Jo Duffy, and in it, Solo goes back to Tatooine to withdraw some credits from his bank account because why not? He needs the money and we need a good storyline. In the meantime, Boba Fett escapes the Sarlacc pit. Holy cow! He makes it out alive, and then at the end of the comic book, he accidentally gets sent back into the Sarlacc pit. Now, I hear a lot of people really come down hard on this issue. They say, oh, that is so stupid. So we have two accounts. I'm going to get to the second one in a minute, but we have two accounts of Boba Fett falling into the Sarlacc pit. In fact, let me just go ahead and just say what the other one is. It's from Tales from Jabba's Palace. It's called A Barve Like That. Now, that one was written by Daniel Keyes Morgan under the pseudonym J.P. Montgomery, I think. But anyway, it's basically Boba Fett getting out of the Sarlacc pit. Now, you're like, oh, wait. Which is true? Because he already escaped once and then fell back in. And now you're saying he's here again, but he has no recollection of him being in there for a second time. What the contradiction, Matt? And I hear that a lot from people. I say, oh, yeah, you like the expanded universe where Boba Fett just keeps. How many times did he fall in the Sarlacc pit again? 4 or 5 times. No, actually, he only fell in twice, and I'll tell you why it makes sense. Reading the comic book, I actually reread the comic book prior to this review again, and rereading it, he had a concussion. I think that's obvious. He comes out, he's unconscious through most of the comic book. Finally, when he regains consciousness, does he go after Solo, only to get sent back to the Sarlacc pit again. Now, to be honest, when someone has a concussion, they can knock themselves out. When they wake up, they're not themselves, and they can forget those first few moments. Remember, in A Barve Like That, Fett wakes up. He doesn't know how long he's been there. It's eating away at his flesh, his armor, he has burns, he has broken bones. I mean, he's beat up. In the first comic book, 81, he's not beat up. He's just unconscious. So it happened very soon after he fell in there. You know, a few days later, he wakes up and gets spit out. And that he doesn't have any memory of that when we get to the short story, A Barve Like That, makes sense to me. You know, he wouldn't have any memory. And Daniel Keyes Morgan doesn't even have to he doesn't have to put that adventure in there because there's not much that Boba Fett would remember from that adventure. Just the last, the comic book, the last few pages. But the thing is, I'm fine with both. I'm fine with 81, issue 81, and A Barve Like That fitting in together at the same time. It doesn't bother me at all, especially when you think of my concussion theory here. Now, in the second one, of course, Boba Fett's getting just brutalized inside the Sarlacc pit, and of course, it's kind of cool how he escapes and makes out, and then he's even worse shape. And if it wasn't for Dengar, he'd be dead as well. So the story of him inside the Sarlacc pit, now I'm switching up to A Barve Like That, Daniel Keyes Morgan, which did a fantastic job with this, that he's talking to the Sarlacc pit and everything, and life in there, and as he's getting sunk down, there's nothing but darkness, and, you know, I mean, slowly the acid is eating through his armor, it's eating through parts of his armor, he's got burns, he's got broken bones. You can feel Boba Fett's pain as he's slowly being consumed over 1,000 years, as Jabba said, in the belly of the Sarlacc. And it really gives that sense of foreboding, that sense of doom, that there's no way he can get out of this. But he uses his one escape to barely make it out, basically kills the Sarlacc too, and is only saved because of Dengar, which is a whole nother story later on that we'll find out. But the setup for this is really awesome. So, should you read Barve Like That? Yes, of course. I think it's fantastic. Should you read Star Wars 81, the Marvel issue too? Read it and tell me what you think. Again, he's unconscious through most of that comic book, wakes up and then tries to do something, and then gets sent back down to the Sarlacc pit. A lot of times you can have memories. There was one time I fell off my roof once. I was nailing some roof tacks on there. The roof tacks exploded. They were sprinkling down, cascading down my roof. And I was like, holy cow, I'm about to mow my grass. I don't want roof tacks, shooting around and with the lawnmower. So I remember I kind of shuffled and almost ran down that roof, slammed my hand down. They went on to the tacks. hurt my, Mick Foley style. I raise up with tacks all in my arm, and because I jerked like that real quick, I lost my balance and I fell off my roof. And I remember I landed flat, canoe to land flat, again, wrestling, and got up. I had trouble breathing at first, a little dazed and confused. I remember I sat on the couch and did nothing. I just felt my head beat. My heart was in my head, and I was just thump, 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 thump. Had this huge headache. And then I remember slowly pulling the tacks out of my arm, throwing them in the trash can, looking around the grass for more tacks. There were no more tacks. I'd stopped them all on my arm. And then later on mowing my grass, finishing up the roof, and then cleaning up the rest of the tacks, and then mowing my grass. Well, I had totally forgotten about that this had happened a year or so later until I saw a picture of me holding my little nephew with a bunch of little holes in my arm. I was like, what the heck is that? How did I get those holes? And then suddenly it befell upon me, that memory. I was like, oh right, I fell off the roof. I'd totally forgotten about it. See, I thought nothing of it. I went about my day and then just forgot about that instance completely. Now, did I have a slight concussion? Possibly. Probably, right? So I can see where Boba Fett, if he was never reminded of that moment, could have possibly forgotten about it too. So I'm just using my experience as an example. But anyway, you decide for yourself. Read 81. Tell me what you think. All right, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time with another video.